Most people with ADHD grow up with the same story. You're distracted, you don't apply yourself, you start things and don't finish. You have so much potential if you would just focus. But what if ADHD isn't a deficit of ability? What if it's a difference in how your nervous system is wired for motivation and performance? You weren't bad at life. You were trained to play the wrong game. This is Gonzalo from Rise 41, and this is all about 10 ADHD traits that are secret superpowers when you stop fighting your brain. Let's get into it. All right, so let's get started. Let's reframe everything. ADHD is not a focus problem. Okay, ADHD is not about intelligence, it's not about laziness, and it's not about not caring. It's about interest based nervous system activation. So, what does this mean? So, a neurotypical brain, the average person, is priority driven. You determine your priorities and you focus on that, and that's what you do. ADHD brains, however, are all about first interest, then urgency, and novelty driven. Those are the three things that will trigger and engage an ADHD brain. That means you don't turn on just because something is important, arbitrarily. You turn on because something is stimulating. And in the right environment, that wiring is a weapon, and you can learn how to wield that weapon and use your ADHD superpowers for good rather than it being a disadvantage or disability, even. So, let's talk about 10 places where ADHD brains absolutely have an edge over neurotypical brains. So here we go. 10 ADHD advantages. First one, hyperfocus, which means elite deep work. So when something grabs you, you don't just focus, you disappear into it. You literally become that thing. So, for example, things that happen during when you're hyper focused on something, time blindness, but in a productive direction. You forget that time is passing because you're so engaged. Okay, this is like what very similar to what programmers call the flow. When you're in the flow, when you're like coding, or when you're an artist and you're like writing, or you're sculpting, or you're painting, and you just forget about time. You're just so enthused and involved in the work that you just dive in. It's that extreme immersion. You have massive skill acquisition bursts when you're doing this. Okay, during this period of hyper focus. And again, examples where you could apply this would be, say, learning video editing obsessively because you're into video editing, training for a sport with tunnel vision. That's all you do. Researching a topic for hours, just reading about that same topic over and over, building a business idea nonstop. Like you don't stop working on that business idea. The world calls this inconsistent, but in reality, it's extreme performance mode, and it turns on when meaning is present. So your problem, again, is in attention. It's attention control based on meaning. And that's very important for you to realize. Okay, second ADHD superpower, high energy and intensity. ADHD people are very rarely low energy people. They're very much misdirected high energy people in general because they usually thrive in, or we thrive in, fast paced environments, competitive settings, roles that require momentum, that require driving or moving towards something. When there's stimulation, you have more gas in the tank than most people. Okay. EMTs, ED doctors, people like that. Uh, ADHD people seem to do well in careers like entrepreneurship, where again, it's all about you being driven, athletics, sales, because again, performance driven. If you don't sell, you don't make money. Emergency services, again, like I just mentioned before, EMTs, ED, entertainment, because you have to engage the audience in order to perform. You're not built with your ADHD brain. You're not built for slow and steady. You're built for bursts of high output. And these careers and this high energy and intensity is an asset when you're dealing with these career paths or these career choices, for example. So that's an example of a ADHD factor that can definitely become a superpower, if you will. Next, number 3. Creative and nonlinear thinking. ADHD brains don't think in straight lines. They think in webs, kind of. like this. So idea association, this links to that through this mechanism. This is why it's an idea web. Recognizing complex patterns very quickly. That's another thing that ADHD brains are very good at, very quick pattern recognition. Lateral thinking, instead of just vertical, one single dimensional, how does it connect to the sides, the 6 degrees of separation, if you will? That's something ADHD brains do really, really well. Which in turn, when this is turned on and allowed to thrive, you don't just solve problems, you solve the right problems that nobody else noticed were even there. And that's where you thrive, which can lead to, say, innovation, new business ideas, some very creative art, unique strategies and approaches. You don't just follow the systems, you actually reimagine them when you're solving like this, when you're using your creativity and that non-linear thinking. All right, number 4. Risk tolerance and bold moves. ADHD brains are less paralyzed by overthinking worst case scenarios. So that can cause trouble because you can be impulsive if you're not careful, right? But it can also fuel, say, starting a company, leaving a bad situation, earlier rather than later, reinventing yourself, redoing your image, pivoting on a career, while other people sit in analysis paralysis, like, oh, and the sunken cost fallacy. I've come this far, may as well see it through. Your ADHD brain says, no, 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 no. Let's try this new idea. Let's go for it. So those big wins require leaps, and ADHD wiring makes those leaps feel more natural, more like something you can do. So again, it's a trait that can definitely be like a superpower in the right scenario. Number 5, you are elite when it comes to crisis and deadlines. When ADHD people suddenly become unstoppable? At the last minute, every time. So deadlines create urgency, urgency creates dopamine, dopamine creates focus. You don't perform well in calm environments. There's no dopamine there. There's no urgency. You perform well in activated environments where there's something at stake and a deadline and some pressure. That's why ADHD people often shine in, like I said before. ER medicine, live production, live without an ed. You make a mistake, you're done. You thrive there if you're an ADHD person. Coaching, because again, you have to react in the moment to the inputs of the client that you're working with or clients. Leadership under pressure, where there's high stakes. That's where the ADHD, can help you make those decisions and not be paralyzed. So, moving on. Number 6, passion-fueled work ethic. When ADHD people care deeply, they can outwork almost anyone. And that's like something that a lot of people don't notice. Once you're engaged and you truly love what it is that you're doing, you will go deep into it and you will work harder and your passion will drive you, because it's not a forced discipline. It's an emotional investment. It's part of you. It does drive you at an emotional level. When your heart's in it, you don't need motivation because you become relentless. Your heart is in this thing. You're in it. This is why ADHD people often train obsessively, build businesses intensely, and create content constantly, because they're fueled by passion, and that allows them to just work hard because they're into it. They enjoy it. It gives them drive, energy. So, ADHD ability feature superpower number 7. Rapid adaptability. So ADHD brains are used to changing focus, pivoting, and adjusting. This can look from the outside, if you're not careful, like inconsistency. But in modern careers, it's actually adaptability. You don't cling to an outdated plan, right? Remember the analysis paralysis we talked about before? We don't do that. So you shift when the world shifts. When the world shifts, you're ready. You're out of there. You move. That's a survival advantage in, say, tech that moves very quickly, the media landscape, which again, also the inputs may change on a dime, entrepreneurship, where you have to make very quick decisions in order to move your business forward, and any field that has any evolving field, really, any field that's still growing. That rapid adaptability as things change is definitely a superpower you can apply there. All right. Number 8, we're coming close to the end, guys. Stay with me because this information is definitely useful. You should know this. So, number 8 is big vision thinking. So, details can drain at the ADHD brain, but vision lights them up. So, your ADHD person is not the guy who's going to be like into the itty, nitty bitty, gritty detail, but you naturally think of that big picture like this. You think of the possibilities of what you're doing. You see future outcomes because of that pattern recognition and analysis, right? You imagine what could be with that creativity, right? So that's leadership wiring, basically. You're often better at starting the movement, selling the dream, seeing where things are going. These are places where you will thrive as an ADHD person. Okay, number 9, emotional intensity and charisma. ADHD often comes with emotional depth and expressive energy. So, again, you feel strongly, you get excited strongly, you care strongly, everything is strong, everything is passionate, everything is intense. That makes you very powerful when it comes to, say, coaching, where people are probably learning and or modeling their behavior as you're teaching them. Leadership, where you're leading, literally leading people and showing them how to do things, and that passion and charisma and intensity comes through, and people can see it and feel it and be affected by it in a positive way. Performance, say you're an artist, you're into what you're doing, you apply that emotional intensity and charisma, your performance will improve because it comes from the heart, it's genuine. uh, Building communities, the ability to share a vision, can be super useful if you're trying to like build a community or a group of people or lead them similarly. You don't just communicate ideas, you also transmit the emotion. And because you're fully invested in whatever it is that you're doing, that goes with that investment and that goes with your communication. And people pick up on that, which is great. And now, last one, number 10, resilience built from struggle. You've had to find workarounds your entire life because of how your brain is wired. And this builds, of course, through trial and error and experience. It builds resourcefulness, it builds creativity under constraint, it builds emotional toughness because you've had to deal with rejection and or people not understanding what you're doing your entire life. So ADHD people often become problem-solving machines because they have to. And that ability to problem solve and to evolve your thought and to be resilient and not quit is a huge advantage in a lot of fields. Think about it. That no quit ability. So now, something that's very true that needs to be spoken and made clear. In order for all of this to work, superpowers, these superpowers as we're calling them, do need a structure. And these trends don't show up automatically, okay? It's not like magic, like people just do this. ADHD becomes very destructive when you chase cheap dopamine, when you live without structure, and when you compare yourself to linear brains, to the average neurotypical person. It's just, they're different. You can't, it's not that one's better than the other one. It's just a different approach to life and everything. You have to remember, you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. What you need are systems that support your wiring, the way you think, and make that work to your advantage rather than shoehorning it, or trying to shoehorn your brain into systems and scenarios that really don't work for it or are unfavorable. So, anyway, think about this. Let me leave you with this thought. ADHD is not a disability of ability, it's a difference in ignition. Stop asking, why can I be consistent like them, meaning neurotypical people, and start asking, where does my brain naturally come alive? So that's where your success lives. Finding the trick is finding that place where your brain naturally gravitates to and comes alive, and you allow it to thrive. Okay, so hopefully I gave you some food for thought, some analysis. So if this episode made you feel seen, as they say nowadays, share with someone who grew up thinking they were lazy. Go ahead and share it and spread the word and, let them know they weren't being lazy. They just didn't know how to work in a world that's different from the world that they need, for their brain to function like in the most optimal way. And if you want help building a life, a career, or a training system around how your brain actually works, hey, at Rise 41 Coaching, that's exactly what I help people do. So reach out. There's information for a free 15-minute consultation, initial discovery session. We can talk about how I can hopefully help you. And if you're a good fit, we can work together and you can start learning the systems that will make this be second nature and allow you to like weaponize your ADHD rather than be its victim or have to suffer with it. You can actually turn it into an asset, and make your life so much better, and your quality of life will improve. Your satisfaction with life will improve. All right. So with that, thank you very much for sharing some time. Leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things. Thank you so much. This is Gonzo from Rise 41, and I'm out.